I'll be excited and then I'll grow bitter and old, and I'll become a grumpy old man.
Ronan in chat saying delayed it, or, in that regards, I think essentially because we don't technically have a date. Like I'm sure that with everything with COVID got delayed. However, with no official date, like they were trying to target 2021 specifically, yeah, it's they can continue to kick the can down the road until it's ready. My thought is that, especially when it comes to MMOs, it's such a tricky situation because inevitably we're going to look at a new MMO launch and it's not going to have all the features that we like. And because of that, the MMO that we're, coming from, like let's say 14 in this case, 5, 7, 10, 12, like it's going to continue to have a ton of content, a ton of things to continue to do, a really engaged player base. Same thing concept with New World. Like the like new MMOs struggle out of the gate. I think it's usually when it comes down to it, you gotta look at it like after its first expansion at a minimum before it kind of starts like getting its really foundational feet in the ground. So regardless of a release date for Blue Protocol, I'm thrilled for it. Like I cannot wait to go hands on with it. But like it's not about how it launches. It's like, okay, how is it at 2 years after? How is it 3 years after? And the only way you can get to that is obviously with time and letting it go from there. Are you excited? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you're about to sound like Todd Howard. No one wants to sound like Todd Howard. It's not where you start, but where you finish. That was bad taste with Fallout 76.
Oh man, I actually had somebody ask me if that and say they wish I'd go check out Fallout 76.
You should.
Is it good now?
It's just a lot better now. It's a lot more playable. I know the meme is still out there with everyone like, Fallout 76 meme, yeah, but they've improved it leaps and bounds. It's, graphically, it's never going to be great. It's using an engine that's older than my Atari, but the actual game itself is pretty decent now. It's in a good place, and the one thing I have to commend them for, even through the worst parts of their development after launch, the community managers were always there. They were always on Reddit answering questions. They were taking a beating, but they were there. And they were always trying to reason and sympathize with the people that paid their money, got the game. And I think that's highly commendable because you don't see that every day.
Right. Well, I mean, then you just confirm Todd Howard's belief in that regards. It's not where you start; it's where you finish, right?
Oh yeah, but it still got damaged. It lost players.
So
there's people that will never go back to it.
Right, but that's where do we classify gamers in certain ways? Because like just on the graphics debate alone, graphics are great. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that a pretty game isn't, enjoyable. But I don't play games for prettiness. I can go look at a picture or watch a movie, or I can go, look at my wife. She's gorgeous. It's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it doesn't, I think, dictate gameplay. So if a game could be the most beautiful game ever, but if the gameplay isn't there, like then no one's really going to, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to play it, like was it a game?
See, the problem with Fallout 76 was even the animations were completely balked. You had T-posing dogs. You had literally creatures that were just like that, and they had zero animation, and they'd just be sliding like this towards you. It was like a 60s movie with just a cardboard thing coming at you. You had dogs and creatures and stuff. I think the most impressive thing that I read with Fallout 76 was when the community got together and set off every nuke at the same time, and it actually took the servers down.
That's exciting.
That was funny.
Let's continue the discussion there though, and let's look at Cyberpunk 2077. Just released patch 1.23. I was playing it the other day, just kind of seeing if it's something that ultimately plays into the overall game and the concept. So is that something that if it finishes, like I even put out the question to my community and none of them were like, guys, like it's been 6 months. There's no way they're actually going to turn this around. Do you think Cyberpunk 2077 has a chance?
I think they'll fix it. I think they'll fix it, and they've made their money. Um, they've made more than enough money to call it a success financially.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
happy that they're still working on it, and they are going to release a PS5 and Series X version some point this year. But I think at this point they just need to ignore the base consoles and just say, right, it's just not going to work on these. Let's not do that. Let's not go there anymore. Stop it
Hmm.
and just move on. The PS4 Pro runs it fairly decent. The PS5 and the Series X backwards compat runs it fine, but the base consoles didn't, and that's where the majority of the issues were. I remember playing it on PC at launch, and honestly, I had a few bugs here and there with cars scraping onto the walls, but it was nothing. Um, but it wasn't a showstopper, and you know what I
Right.
mean by a showstopper.
Right. When you
It
look at
was
it,
nothing.
when you look at the trailers, when you look at how the game was marketed and then how it was delivered, I never felt that,
See, that's the
that
problem.
connection. Go ahead.
They doctored everything to the T, and they're never honest with the community. Now, Fallout 76 came out and they said, right, this is the condition of the game. Instead of us charging you $60 or £60, we're going to charge you 20. It's early access. We're bringing it out like that. The game's going to have microtransactions anyway. So that extra bit of revenue that they're losing out would have been recouped through microtransactions anyway. The community, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
would be a lot more open to that because they're openly saying that it's an unfinished product. And we need to release it because we need to recoup some money to continue development
Mm-hmm.
because we've run out of budget. That's essentially why these games come out in that state anyway. They run out of budget. So the shareholders turn around and say, hey, if you want to continue working on this game, release it because we need more money. And
Yeah.
that's fair. Games are getting more and more expensive every year. They're becoming a lot more high profile, a lot more longer in length, a lot more
Yeah.
development hours. So it's not like back in the Mega Drive days or the Saturn days when games used to be a lot more simpler just to develop. It's a lot more expensive. But if you're going to release the game in a shoddy condition, the price needs to reflect that, and you need to be open with your community. You'll find that a lot of people will be a lot more amenable to you had they done that. And with the reputation that CD Projekt Red had, which was pretty much on the level of God tier, you couldn't touch them. They were the most successful gaming company in the world because of their goodwill. And they took that and decided to completely trash it for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, they cashed a big check of that goodwill. And the thing was, is the impressions that were completely mixed from the experience, because my experience with Cyberpunk 2077 actually was pretty good outside a handful of bugs that kind of,
Yeah,
like ruined the ad. Like, it's okay. But overall, like, it did more to advertise the strength of Stadia than it did anything else. Because everybody was like, oh, it runs great on my $3,000 PC. And I was like, it runs great on my service that I pay nothing for, and runs just as good as your $3,000 PC. And then at the same time, I'm looking at over at the, like at the PS4 and the Xbox clan, and I'm like, I feel horrible for these people. I feel like they were just like completely manipulated, because the game also was announced before the PS4 was even announced. So it's like, when you think
yeah,
about it, like, hey, we're making a next gen game, next gen times two, like, and I think that's just where marketing budget leadership kind of gets in the way. But to the point of it, though, is that I do kind of see that within gaming and gaming culture, there tends to be a divide, a split, some kind of, in a way that it's like you have gamers that are what maybe are just kind of fad gamers. They just follow whatever has the hype and probably are constantly disappointed. If I was going to summarize this like theoretical group up, because they just follow the hype, and the hype comes, the hype goes, and they are just waiting for the next dopamine hit of what's the next big game that everybody's playing. But then I think they're like kind of like gamers that are just like, okay, like I'm here, this is something I'm enjoying, I'm not diving into any of the drama or the chaos, or like, okay, yeah, it's buggy, but I'm having fun with my friends. I think if essentially the the gamer who I would, I guess, try to cultivate and attract into any kind of game is the gamer that would be willing to take a second look or a third look, especially in games that evolve. In a single player game, I think probably we're all the same. Like, you launch a single player game that's complete, and okay, you get one shot because everybody's going to move on to the next big single player game, and things like that. But when it comes to the multiplayer games as a service game, it's like, if you're gonna write it off based off of your first impression, you should at least wait 2 years before you give yourself that first impression, because I have yet to see a game launch in a great state. Thank you so much for checking out this highlight from Epic Loot Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe button, and more. And check out our other channels, Ginger Gaming Radio, Ginger Prime, and Work to Game, for more content. Thanks for being here, and you're awesome.